Hello Hylians! I finally did it. In this video, we will learn how to find every single material in Zelda Breath of the Wild. If you want to know where to find an item, or how to collect lots of them, you'll find that in this video. This video only talks about the locations of every item, not what they do. And yes, these are clips from their individual video. So if you're looking for a specific material, you can check the links in the description for the timestamps, and also the links for the videos for those specific materials where we talk about what they do, what they're needed for, and where to find them. There's two places to find durian. If you don't know, Satori Mountain has lots of materials, and they also have durians. You'll find around 15, so grab them while you're in this location while you're farming other things. The best place to farm durians is in the Faron region. Because I like to be efficient and collect other things at the same time, this is what I do. Travel to Faron Tower and jump north. Here, you'll find a pair of Lizalfos, a Hinox, and a Lino. You'll also find some hardy thistles by the Lino and 3 big hardy radishes. And don't forget to turn on the Sheikah Slate. Then I go northwest into the Demo Forest where you'll find some enemies like Bokoblins and Lizalfos. You'll get some crates with random things in them, and also there's a few electric Lizalfos around. Collect everything and you should end up with more than 70 durians. And you can buy 3 in Gerudo Town. There are 2 regions to get palm fruit. First is in the Gerudo Desert. You can get about 18 in the southern oasis. Just climb the trees or knock them down. And about 30 in the Karakara Bazaar. The second region is in the Faron region. You can get them almost anywhere around the beaches, but the best place is in Lurelin Village. You can get almost 70. You can also find some crabs, porgy, beetles, and snails around here. Maybe if you just want to collect 999 apples, using the object map, there's 5 best places to get them. First and second are by the central tower. And just north of it, you can get up to 70 apples. If you're still near the beginning of the game, there's up to 80 apples all over Hateno Village. The 4th best place is Appleland Forest east of the Hyrule Castle. There's over 100. And the best place is on the east side of Satori Mountain. They're all in one place and there's up to 150 apples. You get them mostly in snowy areas like Hebrew region and the Gerudo Highlands, but the best place is the Gerudo Highlands. The reason the Gerudo Highlands are better is because the Wildberries aren't as spread out as they are in the Hebrew region. You can easily get more than 200 if you farm the whole area. You can find them randomly throughout Hyrule from crates, but the only place they're guaranteed to spawn is in the Gerudo Desert. What's great about this is that this is the only place you'll actually need heat resistance. If you search the whole desert, you can easily find more than 100 and maybe even 150. First, there are a few places to farm spicy peppers. Gerudo Desert has more than 100, but they're spread out throughout the desert. There's about 30 at the Lanayru Road East Gate. Even though there's only 30, I mentioned this location because it's where you can farm a Lino, a Hinox, and close by there are some Chillshrooms. And this location is probably the best place to farm Nadra at the same time. And one great place to farm them is at Satori Mountain because there's 27 of them in the same location. And the last place to farm them is all around the Rito village. You can also collect some Tabantha Wheat, cold darners, rugged beetles, and hot-footed frogs while you're here. Voltfruits can be found in the Gerudo Desert. Just turn on your sensor and you can search the whole desert. You can find over 150 Voltfruits. You may get a drop once in a while from crates or Hinox, and you can buy 3 from Gerudo Town. There are 4 places I go for getting Fleet-Lotus Seeds. And of course, I've sent you to Satori Mountain many times. There's only 10, but again, there's so many things you can get at Satori. The next place I go is by Solari Hill. Go to the water close by and there should be 18 of them. The next place is at East Necluda. Go there for the 3 Hinoxes, some Corsair Bee Honey, beetles and lizards. There should be 20 Fleet-Lotus Seeds. And the last place is in Lanero Wetlands. You should get about 40 of them. And if it's raining, go get some frogs while you're there. There are many places to get bananas, like killing Yigas, but there are 3 that I find easiest. First, in the Yiga clan hideout. From the entrance, once you're in the hideout, right after the first room, there's a ladder. Climb up and you should find lots of them. There are some bananas all around the hideout, and in total, you should find under 30. The next place is in the Farron region, just south of the Lakeside Stable up on Ubota Point. You can probably go to the Farron Tower and just jump south. Use the sensor, of course, and you can probably get about 80 bananas. The last method is the fastest way to get bananas, but you have to have lots of rupees. If you want lots of rupees, you can of course check the card in the corner or the link in the description for my video on the best rupee methods. There are 2 travelers that sell you overpriced bananas for 99 rupees, and you can buy 99 of them. Whether or not you buy from them, they will not really surprise you that they are Yiga. Since they are enemies, they will respawn after a blood moon. Even if you don't kill them, you have to wait for another blood moon. You can't buy them, teleport back, and buy more. They are located at the fork on the road in the valley east of Lake Floria and along the path north of the Lanero Wetlands.
Alright, so first thing we have to do, we have to make sure we have our big Hearty Truffles targeted. All of the skulls on the map are where the big Hearty Truffles are. Where I usually like to go first, I usually come to Hira region. I'll go to this shrine and I'll grab these. And then sometimes I'll grab these 2 depending on how I feel. Just the time that it takes, sometimes it's not worth it. I do ignore this one, it's annoying to get to. This is also annoying to get to. I then go to this shrine and I grab these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I ignore this one and I ignore this one. Again, they're annoying to get to, so I don't. And the same with these 4. The only closest shrine is this, and you have to do a lot of climbing to get here. can climb here to go around. Then you can go here. There are 2 right here, and I'll grab this, this, and this. Next thing I like to do, I'll go here to this shrine. I'll grab the bike, grab this one, kill the Lionel over here. Grab these. I like to go this way because there's lots of Razorshrooms here. And I'll grab these 2, and I'm going to ignore those 2. Again, it's too far, and for me it's not worth the time. Then I go here to this shrine by the fairy fountain. I'll jump down here, grab these 5, and kill the 2 guardians here. Hopefully you get a giant core. This section is a little funny. I go to Skull Lake here, I jump here, I grab this one. There's lots of electric beetles around this area, so I grab them and kill the Hinox to grab its Hinox guts. I'll jump here, kill all the Octoroks here because their eyeballs are hard to come by. Grab this one, jump down here, kill the Lionel here, grab its stuff. Get these shrooms. Come down to this one and kill the guardians here and grab this one. This again is a little annoying to get to, for there's a wall there, it's annoying to get up, so I ignore those 2. And then the last place I'll go is here. I know it says there's only 3, but there's a lot of materials here that you can grab. Lots of mushrooms, Endura mushrooms are here, Endura Carrots are here. Everything is here. That's why I still grab these 3. There is one in the castle. It's in the dining area. And there's one right over here on Tingle Island.
Now for my secret about finding Hearty Truffles is, there is no great place to farm them. Like Swift Violets, they're all over Hyrule, but I'll tell you how I like to farm them. First, there is one location with a decent amount, and it is west of the Farron Tower. Going there will get you about 15 Hearty Truffles. But another reason I go here is to collect Hinox drops, about 10 Aurochs, and a few Hearty Bats. Like that location, the next 5 locations are great for farming other things along with a few Hearty Truffles. In the Tauren Wetlands, there are 6 Hearty Truffles, and while you're here, collect from the Guardians, some radishes, big Hearty Truffles, Armoranth, and for whatever reason you need them, Hyrule Herbs. In the Rockwoods, there's Octoroks and 3 Hearty Truffles, and south of there in the Akala Valley, there's about 10 Hearty Truffles, 2 Lionels, Zapshrooms, and electric rhino beetles. The whole field north of Hyrule Castle, from Serene's stable all the way to the Lost Woods entrance, you can find up to 20 Hearty Truffles. Other than that, there's Hinoxes, a Lionel, some Darners, butterflies, big Hearty Truffles, and lots of Razorshrooms. And around the south side of Rito Village, there's about 10 Hearty Truffles. And of course, other than that, you can get some frogs, beetles, and Tabantha Wheat. And finally, not Satori Mountain because they're too spread out. Buy them anytime you go to Hateno. You'll travel here to go to Link's house anyway, and that's the only place you can get milk. But I will mention, because someone else will, especially if they didn't watch this far into the video, there is one tree on Satori that has all mushrooms except big Hearty Truffles. Like I said, they're all over, and there isn't one place that's great. There's a few places you can visit regularly if you're collecting them. First, in the forest by the Wetland Stable, there are 8 Endura Shrooms, but I visit here regularly because there are Hearty Radishes and big Hearty Radishes. Second place I would go is the Thundra Plateau and move south to the Hyrule Ridge. You'll find more than 10 Endura Shrooms. You can also find Swift Violets, Octoroks, Darners, butterflies, radishes, and a Hinox. And finally, you guessed it, Satori Mountain, but actually south of the mountain. And of course, you can find lots of things on Satori while you're here. They're all over Hyrule and pretty easy to find. My advice is to just pick them up whenever you see them and you'll end up with lots of them towards the end game. But if you still want a good place to farm them at once, I've picked 2 locations from the object map that I'm using. If you want the object map I use, check the link in the description. The first place is the forest in the Great Plateau. The object map shows that there are more than 30 here. And the second place is the forest across the river from the Riverside Stable. You can find more than 20 here, and spoiler for another video, you can also find Ironshrooms here. There are some decent places to find them if you look in the object map I use, but there are 3 that I picked. The forest by the Riverside Stable, you'll find up to 20 Stamella Shrooms and lots of other different shrooms. It may be a little scattered, but around the Thundra Plateau, you can find about 25. And if you haven't seen any of my other videos, there's so many things like Octoroks, Swift Violets, Endura Shrooms, Butterflies, and so much more. And finally, of course, Satori Mountain. South of the mountain, you'll find about 50 of them there, and there are lots of other things around Satori Mountain. There are 2 places I prefer to get them. The first is around the Snowfield Stable. You can find about 30. And just to name a few good things you can get around here, there's meat, even rare raw whole birds, Ice Breath Lizalfos, Ice Keys, Big Hearty Truffles, Butterflies, Darners, and 3 Lionels. And the best place to farm just Chillshrooms is in the Nadra Snowfield. There's more than 70 there. And if you go east from here, you can find a Lionel, a Hinox, and this is a great place to get some hot peppers and farm Nadra. There's a few places with a few Sunshrooms, but one with a lot. I'll share all locations so you can decide if it's worth the trip, but again, you can check the link in the description for the object map I use. First, north of Hateno Tech Lab, there's a forest that should have about 10 Sunshrooms. Next, the Satori Shroom tree. There's 8 Sunshrooms, and of course, there's lots of things on Satori. This tree has lots of shrooms, lots of beetles if the mountain is glowing, and you name it, Satori may have it. Next, follow the path north of the Foothill Stable. You should find about 15 Sunshrooms. You can also find some warm darners, fire choo-choos, a guardian, the rare raw whole birds, fireproof lizards, and in the water you can catch some sizzlefin trout. In the Rito Village you can buy 4. Definitely always buy them when you visit Rito Village. And finally, buy the Gut Check Rock. There's more than 20 here. You can also grab a Hinox, sizzlefin trout, and fireproof lizards. And their secret ability, which really isn't a secret, is that they create an updraft if they're on fire. There's 2 places I recommend farming Zapshrooms, and the first is south of Satori Mountain. There's one spot with about 15, and of course there's lots of other materials to get on Satori Mountain. And the best place to get Zapshrooms is in the Akkala region. There's about 80 in this area. You can also get rare Octorok eyeballs, electric rhino beetles, and there are 2 Lionels. Now for finding Rushrooms, it's actually not easy to find a great place to farm them. Rushrooms are found all over Hyrule, but there are a few locations I've chosen, and having a decent bow and arrows will help. The first location is the Shrine from the Perfect Drink side quest. Travel there and you can quickly grab 9 of them. Staying in the Gerudo Desert, if you go to the northwest region, you'll find some along the walls. Use a bow and arrow to knock them down and you can get about 20. This is a decent place to collect some warm Safflinas and some Lizalfo's tails. If you go to the shrine west in the Gerudo Highlands, you'll find some Rushrooms close to the shrine. And a short trip northwest up the updrafts, you can find more than 20. You can also find some butterflies, darners, Rahul birds, and Farouche. Of course, you can go to Satori Mountain. There's 2 spots here, just north of the mushroom tree where you can find more than 10, then go north and you can find about 10 more. And of course, in every video I mention Satori because you can get almost every material here. And finally, the Thundra Plateau. They're along the northern and western walls. Use a bow to knock them down and you can get more than 40. And of course, Thundra Plateau surprisingly has many other materials like Swift Violets, butterflies, Octoroks, and many more. There are 2 places I would collect Razorshrooms. The first place is in the Tauren Wetlands east of Terrytown. There are only 12 here, but you can collect other things while you're here. There's big Hearty Truffles, Armoranth, Radishes, 2 Guardians, and a few other materials. And the best place to farm Razorshrooms is not Satori Mountain, but the whole area north of Hyrule Castle. If you go to the northeast direction, you can get about 50, and there are butterflies, darners, big Hearty Truffles, two Hinoxes, and a Lionel. If you continue west, in the forest before the Lost Woods, east of the military training camp, you can get up to 30 Razorshrooms. And while you're here, you can do the arrow glitch to get 999 arrows. Check the card in the corner or the link in the description to learn how I did this glitch. That's all there is for Razorshrooms. I hope this helps. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, and if you want more Zelda content, I hope you consider subscribing or at least checking out the channel. Ironshrooms are next, and I'll see you next time! There's really only one place I would get Ironshrooms, and that is in the forest across the river from the Riverside Stable. You can find almost 50 of them. There are a few places to get Silentshrooms, but I chose 2 places. First, the forest south of the Dueling Peaks Stable, there's more than 20. And if you're on the cliff in this corner while it's raining, a lot more will appear. And the second place is in the forest across the river from the Riverside Stable. There's more than 20 here. And this is a decent place to get some Octoroks and the best place for Ironshrooms. Now for where to find them. I'm actually going to talk about how to farm both of them, along with some other random materials you may come across as you farm radishes. First, let's talk about Sarah's Scablabs south of the Thundra Plateau. There are 8 radishes and 2 big radishes. You can also farm things like Swift Violets, Octoroks, butterflies, and more. Next place is the Wetland Stable. Here is a small forest by the stable. There are 10 radishes here and 3 big radishes. There's also a cursor bee honey and a few other materials. And on the little hill northeast of the forest, there are 2 radishes and 1 big radish. Next, let's mention the torn wetlands west of Terrytown. This place seems empty, but there are 6 radishes and 3 big radishes. This place has 2 guardians, big Hearty Truffles, Armoranth, and so much more. Go here. Now the whole Farron region is next. Just looking at this map, running around Farron, you can find random spots with radishes. But a short mention about the Farron Tower. When you get there to the tower, jumping north of the tower, there's a big Hearty radish in a hole. You can also climb up to fight a Hinox and another big radish at the east of the Hinox. Then if you climb again, you can fight a Lionel and another big radish east of the Lionel. There's an interesting spot I also would like to mention, and that's the Lover's Pond. There are 7 radishes surrounding the pond, but it's kind of annoying to get to. Now the next place is very obvious, but I can at least tell you where to go specifically. On the north side of Satori Mountain, there's a group of 2 radishes and 2 big radishes. Then there's a group of trees east of that has 2 or 3 of basically every plant material. And then there's the light forest south of Satori Mountain. There's 9 radishes and 4 big radishes. Now for where to find Endura Carrots. First, I believe I should mention that it is possible for them to drop out of any Zelda amiibo, and from crates and barrels. But for where to find them, they can be only found in 6 different places in Hyrule. They're in the 5 fairy fountains. The Tabantha Fairy has 2. The Akala Fairy has 3. The Kakariko Fairy has 3. The Gerudo Fairy has 4. And the Horse Fairy has 5. They're above the fountain on the cliffs on both sides. And the last place, of course, is on Satori Mountain. There are 4 where Satori would be, 4 just south of the shrine, 3 in the lake in the west, and 2 just south and at the bottom of the mountain. Now for farming them. There are a few places worth farming Hyrule Herbs, and they're first in the Torn Wetlands. There's about 16 in this area, and you can also farm some big Hearty Radishes, big Hearty Truffles, Armoranth, 2 Guardians, and more. Next, I'll mention the Thunder Plateau area. There's around 9 by the plateau and 16 in the Ceres Scablands. Now you don't need to farm all of them, but there's lots of materials here. Octoroks, butterflies, darners, radishes, swift violets, and so much more. And of course, Satori Mountain. There is one section on Satori Mountain with all the plants. And Satori Mountain has almost everything, but some good stuff would be a diamond, Endura Carrots, lizards, beetles, and basically everything. Now for where to find swift carrots. I already said they are rare. There's a spot on Satori Mountain that has each plant, and there are only 5 swift carrots there. Yes, there are swift carrots in Steen's garden in Kakariko, but you can't just steal his vegetables. They'll be text if you try to. What you can do is have your horse eat them for no reason except for your own entertainment. There are chances for carrots to drop from crates in all the amiibo of Zelda, but truthfully, the most consistent place to farm them is where I mentioned before, and that's in the general store by the cooking pot in Kakariko. You can buy 12 at a time, and remember that all stores restock at midnight. You just have to not be in the location when the day passes. Go far, sit until the next day, then you can buy more. For where to find pumpkins, they're a little rare. You can get them from any amiibo of Zelda, and you can get them from Hinox drops. The location to farm them would only be at Kakariko from Ulkin. He won't be there at night, but there is a fire that's close by if you need to make it daytime. The small inconvenience is that you have to buy them one at a time. They sell for 20 rupees a piece, and remember they restock at midnight, but you can't be close by when it happens. The first place I want to mention is the Great Fairy Fountain in the Gerudo Desert. There are 8 electric Safflinas, 5 warm Safflinas, and 7 cool Safflinas surrounding the fountain. So come here regularly to collect them. For electric and warm Safflinas, you can only really get them in the Gerudo Desert. Turn one of them on in the Sheikah sensor and go get them. They're mostly found around East Gerudo Ruins, north of the Gerudo town, and the northwest section of the Gerudo Desert. Now for cool Safflinas, there are a few distant places to find them. If you look in the Mr. Cheese object map, link in the description, you'll find them in the Gerudo Highlands, Mount Lanayru, and Hebra. But the best place to go would be Mount Grenache and the Val Peak. There's a total of 56 cool Safflinas there. And to be honest, other than that, I would just collect them from the other locations whenever I go there, and when I see the cool Safflinas. They're too spread out for me to go farm them specifically. Like I mentioned before, Swift Violets are all over Hyrule. They hang on the side of cliffs and you can climb or shoot them down. But really, there's just one place I like to farm them. If you want to use the object map I use, the link is in the description. I like to go to the Thundra Plateau. Use the sensor to find them and the Stasis Rune to see them. Use a bow to knock them down and you can find more than 30 here. And while you're here, you can get some darners, butterflies, Endura Shrooms, and some Octoroks. If you want more Swift Violets, you can go to the waterfall east of Kakariko Bridge. There's about 10 at that waterfall. Other than that, just grab them when you see them or go back to the Thundra Plateau after a while. For finding them, you can find 12 thistles around the Tabantha Ferry. The other place you can find them is in the Faron region. There's more than 60 in that area, but there's a path I would suggest. If you travel to the tower, you can jump north for 6 thistles and a big Hearty Radish. Climb up the wall and you'll find a Hinox. And if you go farther north, you can find 11 thistles and a Lionel. And if you go east, you can find 16 more. This is also the best place to farm for Rushrooms. If you need details for that, check the card in the corner or the link in the description. For where to find Armoranth, there's one place with 2 sections, and one of those places has a secret. Those places are by Terrytown. West of Terrytown is the Tauren Wetland. There are 21 Armoranth total, and you can farm 2 Guardians, big Hearty Truffles, and Radishes. And the next place that has a secret, it's at the Akala Great Ferry. There are 10 Armoranth surrounding the ferry, and the secret is on the mountain wall right next to the ferry. When you climb up, you'll see this little hole in the wall. Climb in the hole, and there's a useless secret cave with some water inside. And you can climb the wall in the inside. Now for where to find them. I should mention that you can get them from drops from crates and any amiibo of Zelda. For some good places, there's just really 2. The first place is an interesting place I used to like going, and that's at the Farash Hills. It's best to go here at night. And the reason I liked going here is because you can get, of course, blue Nightshades, 22 of them, frogs, sneaky river snails, and if it's nighttime, you can get some sunset fireflies too. Everything glows prettily at nighttime. There's a chance to see Farash and some fairies in the pond to the south. The next place to get Blue Nightshade is by Kakariko Ferry. There's 11 surrounding the ferry, Endura Carrots, and Silent Princesses. And if you're willing to make the climb, there's 15 Blue Nightshades on the mountaintop close by and a few Silent Princesses. Now for where to find Silent Princesses. First, I feel like I should mention that it's possible for them to drop out of any Zelda amiibo, and from crates and barrels. But for where to find them in the game, they can usually be found in some sacred or special location. There are each of the 4 Great Fairies, which you should be going to regularly anyways if you're farming for materials. The Gerudo Desert has Safflinas and 2 Silent Princesses. The Tabantha Fairy has Mighty Thistles and 2 Silent Princesses. The Aquila Fairy has Armoranth and 3 Silent Princesses. And the Kakariko Fairy has Blue Nightshade and 4 Silent Princesses. Besides the 4 fairy fountains, there's 2 more places. The Korok Forest, right by the Master Sword pedestal, has 3 Silent Princesses. And on Satori Mountain, 4 just west of the shrine, four on the top pond, and 6 just around Rutile Lake. There are a few more Silent Princesses like the one on top of the mountain all the way east from where Varuda is, or on top of this mountaintop by Kakariko. They're just annoying to get to. The 6 different types of meat are raw meat, raw prime meat, raw gourmet meat, raw bird drumstick, raw bird thigh, and raw whole birds. Before we talk about the best places to farm meat, I just want to mention that if you defeat animals whenever you see them as you play through the game, you should get a decent amount of raw meat and drumsticks, and possibly prime meat too and thighs. Raw gourmet meat isn't super rare to find, but it can take some time to collect 999, and raw whole birds are one of the rarest materials in the game. Also, it's not the best way, but I figured I should mention that you can buy some meat from some traveling merchants. Mezer travels between Dueling Peak Stable and the path by the river between the 2 Dueling Peaks. You can get meat, prime meat, drumsticks, and bird thighs. And if it's raining, instead of drumsticks, they'll sell gourmet meat. Kamba, who travels between Kakariko Village and Wetland Stable, sells raw meat, and if it's raining, they'll also sell prime raw meat. And Stam, who travels between South Aquila Stable and Terrytown, will sell raw prime meat, and then if it's raining, it'll be raw gourmet meat. Now for the best places to find meat. I looked through this compendium, and here are the list of all the meat and the animals that drop them after defeating them. First, for raw meat. You probably will collect lots of them assuming you're defeating animals as you play through the game by defeating some boars, goats, and foxes. But if you do want to get lots of them as soon as you can by looking at this object map, you'll see that there might not be that many, but that's because they randomly spawn throughout Hyrule. So honestly, just farm for other things and collect raw meat when you see them. But if you're really insisting, you probably notice that there's lots of numbers here on Satori Mountain. But you can only get these numbers when Satori Mountain is glowing. When Satori is glowing, you'll see lots and lots of goats. Frankly, you'll see lots of things. And if you want to make Satori glow, talk to Hino at Dueling Peak Stable to ask him which moon it will be at night. And if it's not crescent moon, then sit at a fire and then ask him again. Keep doing this, and when he says it's a crescent moon, wait on the central tower until Satori glows. Check the card in the corner or the link in the description for the moon phases and a little more details on this subject. Next, raw bird drumsticks can be dropped from lots of birds like pigeons, crows, ducks, herons, and seagulls. To collect them, this is similar to collecting raw meat. You'll probably collect enough as you defeat animals when you see them throughout your playthrough. But if you're interested in some locations, I suggest going around Satori Mountain. Even when it isn't glowing, you'll see lots of crows in the skies and you can shoot them down. And looking at the object map, there's lots of herons and ducks in the Linearu wetlands. But they're sort of scattered. But of course, you can go through Satori when it's glowing. There's lots of ducks in Rutile Lake. For raw prime meat, they are better than raw meat, but they aren't necessarily harder to find. And just like the other two meats, I wouldn't farm them specifically. Yes, they can be dropped by deer and bucks. You can find lots of them in Rabia Plains northeast of Kakariko. But they are also dropped by moose, wolves, and rhinos. The reason I bring this up is because those animals also drop the more rare raw gourmet meat. So as you farm for raw gourmet meat, you will easily get enough prime meat. And as a reminder, farming raw gourmet meat, then cooking them, and then selling them is a great way to get rupees. The best place to find these animals is in the Tabantha snowfield. The object map says there isn't much here, and that's because they consistently respawn. So grab some warm clothes and a horse and make sure you're okay with fighting some Lynels that are in the way, and then constantly roam around the snowfield grabbing lots of meat. I tested this and farmed for meat for 10 minutes. I did this 3 times, and I got an average of 120 different pieces of meat. For bird thighs, basically you can get them from different birds, but if you want only bird thighs, I'd go with rainbow pigeons. There's so many in the Hyrule Ridge south of the Tundra Plateau. Fall from one of the trees, bullet time, and multi-shot shock arrows are great. But if you're looking to collect as many as possible, I would just go with farming raw whole birds, and then you'll collect some thighs along the way. Raw whole birds are one of my top 5 hardest things to collect. I mentioned earlier that I would share some efficient ways to farm materials, and there are 2 methods I use for farming ostriches. First, you can farm the north of Eldin Mountains around East Deplian Badlands. And while you farm the ostriches, you can get sparrows for Chickaloo Nuts, some fireproof lizards, a few darners, butterflies, and the Lynels that are here. The second place I farmed them is on Death Mountain. The gear I would use is 1 flame resistance to not get burnt, 2 stealth gears to sneak around, then I would add a level 3 speed boost. And I like to equip a bow with a lightning arrow and an ice rod. However, none of these are a necessity. If you didn't know, you get divine helps from Amiibo. I have a video on how to choose Amiibo drops and a link in the description for the Amiibo cards that I use. But you can always use flame guard gear instead. The lightning arrows are for 2 reasons. First, so the raw whole birds don't get roasted since regular arrows become fire arrows on Death Mountain. And second, those extra few seconds of them getting electrocuted saves me the time for meat getting roasted from laying too long on Death Mountain. While you farm ostriches, you can get keys, red Lizalfos, that's why I equipped the ice rod, fireproof lizards, and smotherwing butterflies. You can farm all, some, or just one of them. Make sure you turn on your sensor for one of those materials, keep your eyes open for the others, and keep in mind that ostriches do not appear at night. And for white pigeons, first I would kill them if you see any while you roam around the Hebra region, also before nighttime. There's lots of quests and shrines there, so you could farm them during your regular gameplay. Where I would farm them now is here in the Tabantha Tundra. Besides the white pigeons, you can kill other animals for meat. There's bokoblins, icy Lizalfos, more keys for wings and eyeballs, which are somewhat rare, and the 3 Lynels that are in the north. There's also a few butterflies, darners, and big Hearty Truffles that are somewhat rare too. Because you need level 2 cold resistance, you could equip 1 cold resistance gear and 1 fire weapon. The fire weapon adds cold resistance and you can use it for the icy Lizalfos. And I prefer to farm quickly, so I would wear snow boots and a level 3 speed boost. I would also use lightning arrows again since the meat may freeze in the cold. For finding cursor bee honey, they're scattered all over, and if there are any in the same place, there's only a few. First, random fact, honeyvore bears drop 2 to 3 items, and those items have a 10% chance to be a cursor bee honey. Not useful since there's only 4 bears in Hyrule. For locations, you can check the object map I use, link in the description. First, let's talk about 5 places that have only one cursor bee honey, but they're still worth going to because of the materials those locations have, especially if you're a collector like I am. Torn Plains has one, but they also have 2 guardians, big Hearty Truffles, Armoranth, and Radishes. The forest south of the wetland stable has 1 cursor bee honey, and it's a great place to get big and regular Hearty Radishes. Just northwest is the Apulin Forest. Of course, there's a cursor bee honey, and there's lots of apples and a Hinox. The Thunder Plateau area has a lot. 1 cursor bee honey and many things like swift violets, butterflies, darners, octoroks, and much more. And the 5th single cursor bee honey location is south of the Rito village. I go here to farm the Hinox, but also some frogs and Tabantha Wheat. Next, Satori Mountain. There's 2 by Rutai Lake and 3 south of that. And of course, there's so many things to farm on Satori. And my favorite place would be at East Nakluda. There's 3 Hinoxes, and this is the best place to farm some beetles and lizards. And there are a total of 6 cursor bee honey very close to one another. I always go here. Now for farming them. You can buy them from Gerudo Town, Hatino Village, Korok Forest, and Zora's Domain. You can find them from cutting grass, but they seem to appear only in the Hatino area. Someone can confirm with me in the comments. You can also grab some crickets while doing this too. But a good place to start is by Link's house and just roam around. You can also fast travel back to the shrine and redo it. You can use the Master Sword beams, which seems to be easier to do, or keep spinning with double-handed sword. The best way to farm rice for me is just to buy them when you see them. You will eventually get 999. So there's no real need to go farming this only, unless you're farming crickets too. Now for farming bird eggs. I suggest not focusing on farming them, but collecting them as they come. The reason I say this is because there are some decent places with eggs, but they're pretty scattered and usually on trees. Also, there's a way to collect an infinite amount of eggs, but it's not that great either. You'll see. But first, the decent places. First, there's 38 eggs around Cape Kales. There is a shrine right there, but the eggs are on cliffs and require some jumping, gliding, and climbing. The next place to farm eggs is in the Ceres Scabland south of the Thunder Plateau. There's a total of 50 eggs and they're almost on top of all the trees. But again, more climbing, jumping, and gliding. Before I show you the terrible way to get an infinite amount of eggs, I did mention to collect them as you play through the game. Here are some places to keep in mind. Just remember they're on trees and trees are scattered. The little island west of the Hyrule Castle has about 30 eggs. The Forest of Spirits on the Great Plateau has more than 40. By Satori Mountain at Rutai Lake or the South Forest, the Light Forest, together there's about 40. And the way to get an infinite amount of eggs is to attack as many cuckoos as much as possible. They have a 20% chance to drop eggs, just don't forget they will attack you a lot. To farm them, you can buy them from 3 locations. You can buy 3 in Gerudo Town. You can also buy 3 in the Rito Village shop. And also, there's a traveling merchant named Yamo. She travels all the way from the Tabantha stable to the Serene stable and all the way to the Snowfield stable. She sells 10 Tabantha Wheat, but also, if it's raining, she has 10 milk and 5 Goron Spices, and those items can only be bought in the game. Now a way to farm them infinitely, you can only get them from the Tabantha region from cutting tall grass, not in snow. There are 2 places I would go, and that would be at the shrine south of the Rito village. There's a Hinox there, and also from cutting grass you can get Tabantha Wheat and lots of frogs. And the second place would be at the Tabantha side of the Tabantha Bridge. There's lots of tall grass there and 2 Guardian Skywatchers. For cutting grass, you can spin with a double-handed weapon, but the frogs might run away from the sound. But if you have the Master Sword, you can use its beams to cut the grass and collect the frogs too. When you cut all the grass, just travel back to the shrine and collect more. First, goat butter, you can buy 5 of them for the shop in Rito Village and Kakariko Village. There's also a traveling merchant named Aegis who travels between the Dueling Peak stable and the Hateno village. He sells 2 goat butters. And also the traveling merchant Yamo who travels between the Tabantha Bridge stable, Serene stable, and the Snowfield stable. You can buy 5. For sugarcane, you can buy 3 of them from the shops in Gerudo City, Rito Village, and the Korok Forest. Yamo also sells 5 of them, but only when it's raining. For fresh milk, you can buy 3 of them from the shop at Hateno Village, and also from Aegis who sells 2, and Yamo who sells 10 when it's raining. You can also get 10 fresh milk from the Sheep Rustler's side quest in Hateno Village. Koyan asks you to clear out the monsters living in the Hateno Beach and save her sheep. For Goron Spice, you can buy 3 of them from the Goron City. You can also buy 5 of them from Yamo when it's raining, and also buy 1 from the traveling merchant Stam who travels between the South Akala stable and Terrytown. For monster extract, it's a little more complicated. You can get them from Kilton. After you find Kilton for the first time, he'll appear every night at most main villages. If you don't know where to find him, someone in the Akala region will give you a clue. Each monster extract costs 9 Mon, and you get Mon from Kilton by giving him monster parts. There really isn't a trick to farming them, but you should know that all shops restock after midnight when you're not close to them. If you want to continue farming one of those materials, you can buy them, travel somewhere far away, sit until the next day, then go back and buy them. You can also go on a shopping spree. Go to each shop, buy all the items, and keep traveling around Hyrule and buying everything. By the time you get back all the way around, the items should be restocked. For farming these nuts, I like to farm Chickaloo Nuts from defeating sparrows. There are some places they always spawn, but they randomly spawn in some places, and they usually come in groups. You can use an ice rod or shoot them when you see them. If you don't have an ice rod, I like to go into bullet time and shoot each one quickly. Also, sometimes I use a multi-shot bow with an electric arrow to make sure I hit each one. If you want to learn how to go into bullet time from the ground, check the card in the corner or the link in the description to learn how to shield block reset. One place where you can find a few flocks of them is in Azora's domain. There's a group once you leave the shrine room, another down the bridge, then at the stairs on the west side, then there's 3 nuts on the platform close by. Also, there is a flock on each side of the big ring surrounding Zora's domain, but they can be a little annoying to get to. I usually get these Zora ones because I go here to get some crabs, buy fish, and get some trout. There are videos for farming these things on my channel too. Check the card in the corner or the links in the description. I'll mention farming Chickaloo Nuts on Satori Mountain later in the video. There's another location with 5 flocks of sparrows, and that's here, south side of the Lanayru Bay. It is out of the way to get to, but I do have a route that I go here because it helps me collect many materials. In the Lanayru Bay, you can get some crabs, porgy, blue shell snails, a lionel, and sometimes Nadra. I do have a video showing my favorite routes when I farm many of these materials at once. Check the card in the corner or the link in the description. For acorns, squirrels have a 100% chance to drop one. Boxes, crates, and pots also drop them, but the percentage amount is confusing. And trees have 20% chance to drop acorns, and also acorns do appear randomly. There is one location with 18 acorns, but it's out of the way, and that's at the Sage Temple Ruins. But if you have 0, this would be an immediate 18 acorns, which will help upgrade your Of the Wild gear. Besides collecting them as they come, the one way I can think of farming them is to get them from trees. Don't forget you can use bombs for trees, or if you have a double-handed weapon you don't mind using, just spin around, then pick them up. I collected 999 naturally as I played through the game and farmed other things. Then there's Satori. Not a great place to farm both nuts unless the mountain is glowing. If you go to the section where there's 100 apples, there's also 11 sparrows there for Chickaloo Nuts. Then if you follow this path from the shrine, you can come across about 20 squirrels and 40 sparrows. That's if you can hit them without them running away. Trying to collect these can drive you nuts. That's why I collect them when you see them as you play through the game.
How to get star fragments explained by Nico in 1 minute. Travel to the top of Dueling Peaks. Travel medallion optional. Make fire. Sit till morning. Sit till night, then wait. Star fragments only appear at night. The star fragment will drop in the frame your camera is facing. If the star fragment falls in water, it will disappear. Keeping Hyrule Castle to the right of your frame makes sure the star fragment drops in Hyrule Field away from water. There is a possible 1 out of 10 chance this may not work. Place stamp where it lands. Travel to the closest shrine. Get the star fragment and repeat everything. A few notes. If a star fragment is on a ledge, it'll stay there until you get close to it. You can also get star fragments from Lynels.
Before I explain the best locations, there's a few things that's important that you should know. When a dragon part flies off a dragon, you can sit by a fire, and when Link unsits, the dragon part will still be there. This is important because you would want to leave that part where it is and shoot the dragon for another part and continue doing this until you're ready to leave and pick up all the parts all at once. But it's important to know that you can sit by the fire as soon as the part flies off the dragon. It will continue to fly when you unsit. If you sit by the fire before the dragon part flies off, the dragon part will for whatever reason be unpickupable. A good method to farm Dinraal would be to have Flame Guard up in case you get burnt by Dinraal. Also, to make a campfire with 4 wood, this way you can use the updraft from as far away as needed depending on your bow. And also, to obviously sit until the next day. And Dinraal seems to spawn from the sky in this location, then flies all the way down the valley. And if you sit by a fire anywhere along its path, Dinraal will spawn close by, not always at the beginning of its path. So when I was recommended locations, I wanted to pick a spot where the dragon parts will fall consistently in the same location. This way I can pick up all the parts at once. For the best spots to farm Dinraal, I won't go into too much detail, but the way I found out which is the best spot was to go to the locations recommended to me, and I timed how long it would take until Dinraal came close enough to create an updraft. The reason I didn't time when Dinraal came close enough to shoot at, it's because it depends on what kind of bow you have, and there's no real way to determine how far Dinraal is. I should also mention that Dinraal doesn't always spawn. I don't know how to make sure it always does. Sometimes I just save, close the game, reload, and cross my fingers. Or sometimes I just go to a new location. Or sometimes I just give up and try another time. So the places I tested were by the foot race, by this DLC shrine, on the Tabantha Bridge, all the way to the north by the Elden Great Skeleton, down a little farther by the Lynel, and a little farther down to the west, and at the bottom of Hera Tower. I timed all of them, and the most consistent ones were the DLC Shrine, the Tabantha Bridge, and the Leviathan Bones. The one by the DLC Shrine was okay, which averaged about 1 minute and 29 seconds, but you can't always see if Dinraal will spawn. So the Tabantha Bridge and the Leviathan Bones seem to be the best, but they have pros and cons. Sitting at the Leviathan Bones is actually the best spot, especially if you have a bow that shoots far. Once you think Dinraal is close enough, just shoot and the parts will drop in the same spots. And you can easily collect them all when you're done. The problem with this spot is that it's a little annoying to get to, and Dinraal doesn't consistently spawn here. I've gone here many times and there was no Dinraal. The Tabantha Bridge I've done many times. I keep sitting and Dinraal will almost always spawn. There have been a good handful of times where Dinraal won't spawn, but sitting again a few times usually works. If not, I just leave. The bad part about this location is when the parts land, they will land in various locations and it's possible to lose dragon parts you've shot. By the way, the clip that I showed you in the beginning is something that randomly happened and I don't think you can make this happen again. But if you know how, let us know. Now for farming Nature parts. Like most people know, the best place to farm Nature parts is by the Lanayru Road East Gate. But the biggest problem with this method is that when you shoot Nature parts will fly all the way down the promenade. So if you want to get the part, you'd have to travel all the way over there, probably defeat some enemies, climb up if it goes in the water, then head all the way back and repeat. That's the most annoying part. There is a chance for the parts to drop on the mountainside, but you'll never know. I found a way to make that happen. I'll explain first how to farm Nature, then I'll talk about some problems you may come across. The best way to get the East Gate is probably to go to the top of Mount Lanayru and wind bomb there. If you don't know how to wind bomb, you can check the card in the corner or the link in the description on my short video on how to do it. But if you're still having problems, you can travel to the shrine under the waterfall in the promenade, then just run there. And as a small note, there is a Lionel here if you don't know, so you probably want to get rid of it. And of course, if you need help fighting Lionels, check the card in the corner or the link in the description for my video explaining how to defeat them easily. The specific place I would stay is here on top of this little mountaintop. Place some wood here, sit until morning, and Nature should appear from the top of Mount Lanayru. Now you do have to wait till Nature gets close, which is the boring part. But as soon as Nature creates an updraft, ride it and shoot whichever part you want to get. Each part will fall in one of these two places, on the cliff on your side of the promenade, or somewhere on that area on the other side of the promenade. Then sit till morning, then repeat. Obviously this is better than all the parts flying down the promenade, but also, since you're shooting Nature will fly away and you don't have to worry about getting frozen from Nature's freeze attack thing. Also, this is faster since you're shooting her sooner than you normally would. And speaking of faster, to maximize your speed, after you shoot Nature, as soon as the part flies off of Nature, you can sit until morning. Naturally, you're going to want to see where it lands before sitting, but if you sit till morning, you can still see where it flies. You'll shave off a few seconds by doing this. Also, very important, you must wait until the part flies off of Nature. If you shoot Nature, then sit right away, the part will come off but will drop straight down. This sounds like a good idea, but for some reason, the part will disappear. The next thing you should do is wait before picking up the part. You may want to go get the part, then go back, but it will stay there until you leave the area or pick them up. So leave them there and farm whichever parts you want, then you can go get them all. I tried to see what the most amount of parts you can leave on the ground, but I stopped after 33. So if you're crazy enough to keep going until you get more than 30, then go pick them up, then continue. I did this with Farosh and I wound up having 39 being the most, so it might be the same for Nature. If Nature doesn't show, it might happen, I don't know why. You can try a couple things like saving and reloading, closing the game, reloading, or even leaving and fast traveling back to the shrine and then travel back to that spot. If it rains, you can drop down the mountain and drop wood under the gate. You can place a fire there. The gate will prevent the fire from going out. If it rains, what I would do is wait till Nature gets close, shoot Nature, then drop down to the gate. Again, I'm trying to save a few seconds by doing things while I'm waiting. Now, for farming Farosh parts, I'll quickly explain the best method, then I'll talk about some details, answer some common questions, and explain why I do the things the way I do them, with the last notes being the most important ones. There are 3 places that Farosh spawns: above the Gerudo Highlands, out of Lake Hylia, and in the Faron Woods. The best place is in Faron Woods and specifically in this location, the Riola Spring. It's best to fast travel to the shrine underneath the waterfall and use the Zora armor to swim up the waterfall. Go to the left side, drop a bundle of wood, make a fire, sit until morning. You do have to wait a few seconds for Vorosh to appear, so you might as well light the fire again. And as soon as the updraft starts, ride the updraft and shoot whichever part you want, most likely horns. Wait for the part to fly, then you can sit by the fire. Repeat this as much as you want. Now for some important details. If you don't have the Zora armor to go up the waterfall, you can fly to the tower, then you can go north to climb up the cliffs to get to the lake. It just takes a bit of time, and just know you can come across a Hinox and a Lino. But if you want to get the Zora armor, you get it by doing the Zora main quest. You can go to the right side of the waterfall, but it'll be easier to collect the dragon parts after if you get them from the left side, which I'll talk about in a bit. Also, the old farming location that people used to talk about is in the cave in the back. But to me, it's too far, making this method less efficient. The other argument may be that the cave does prevent the fire from being wet if it rains, not allowing you to make a fire, and also prevents Vorosh from shocking Link with electricity. However, the spot to the left, of course it's closer to Vorosh, and just put the fire under the tree leaves to prevent it from getting wet. I put the fire right at the corner of this little grass triangle thing, and then cut the leaf that's in the way of the camera. That's not necessary, but I like to do it. And if you're afraid of getting electrocuted, I used to say use shockproof dishes or the thunder helm or rubber gear, but honestly, you'll be doing the farming so fast it doesn't even matter. You won't get shocked. And if you don't have fire weapons, you can use flint, hit it with a metal weapon. Just know that you do have to use flint, so make sure you have enough if it's the beginning of the game. And as a reminder, the dragon will cause an updraft, so you don't need to make more fires for the updraft. This is probably the most important part. When you shoot Vorosh or any other dragon, the part will sparkle. You do have to wait till the part starts to fly away. Then you can immediately sit down at the fire. You don't have to wait until the part hits the ground. However, if you sit at the fire before the part flies away, the part will be unpickupable. I don't know why this happens. Also, you can leave all the parts where they are, then continue the method as much as you want. Don't take too long to shoot Vorosh or the parts will fly away somewhere farther away. If you continue to hit Vorosh quickly, there are 4 spots they should land. These 2 spots on the same side that you're on of the lake, and the 2 spots on the other side. If the parts go farther away or down the cliff, just leave them. Now, I did say you can do this trick as much as you want, but just so you know, I tested this only once. I kept shooting Vorosh more than 15 minutes and the parts stopped sparkling. I did that a few times and looks like the most parts that can be on the ground is 40. Again, I did only test this once, so maybe I'm wrong, you can try it yourself. Now for farming Hearty Salmon, there's a specific route I take, and I go here every blood moon. I do have to say that blood moon doesn't necessarily mean the Hearty Salmon have respawned. I just use it as a reminder that it's time to farm them. As a matter of fact, according to Croton's myth-busting video, link in the description, each section of the map has a 1% chance for materials to respawn every minute. So when I have my blood moon reminder, I head to the Hebra Tower, target the Hearty Salmon on my sensor, then I make my way to the Tama Pond. There's a talus here if you're interested in getting some ores. I like to use shock arrows to get as many fish as possible because there are some chillfin trout here too. Then I make my way down to the lower Hebra Plunge. There's a small ledge I go to create some cryonis blocks close to the Hearty Salmon. There's usually a pair of Hearty Salmon close to the ledge and a pair in the center of the waterfall. And there are also some chillfin trout. Keep in mind when farming here, depending on the weather, sometimes the fish can freeze. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens, so don't shoot them unless you can get them quickly. While you're here, I would suggest targeting some Voltfruit trout since they're kind of rare also. After clearing this area, I head to Rito Village. I go straight to the shop, buy everything, then head to the small pond on the second island. There should be 2 hearty salmon in the pond. Then I head to the bridge by the stable. Then I jump down. Very rarely, but it happens, there can be a hearty salmon under this bridge. If you're lucky, you'll get 2 hearty salmon. And finally, I fast travel to Hyrule Castle in the docks. You can find 2 hearty salmon in the center and 1 at the end. You can defeat the Lizalfos here for some ores or shock arrows.
You can get them at any beach like Lurlin, just turn on your Sheikah sensor to farm them. Lately, I've been going to Lanayru Bay. I start at the shrine, then make my way around. You will get a few crabs here, some porgy, some Octoroks here for the rare eyeballs. There's also a Lionel here. And when you go down here, there's some crabs and a couple groups of sparrows for some Chickaloo Nuts. Then I cross the bay and grab a few more snails.
Before I show you the map, you should know there are 2 other ways to get Hearty Bass. A rare drop from killing Octoroks, and drops from the Toon Links, Archer Link, and Mifa Amiibo. These are the locations for Hearty Bass. Feel free to take a screenshot at any time. First place I go is to the pond by the foot race. There's no easy way to get here, so I leave my travel medallion here. There are 2 Lizalfos, an Octorok, and potentially 5 Hearty Bass. Next place I go is down the waterfall by this shrine in the Faerun region. There should be about 5 of them. Next, there should be about 11 along the Floria Bridge in the Faerun region. This is the most at one location you can get them. Staying in the Faerun region, I sometimes get the 4 that are by this waterfall after farming the Hinox, Truffles, and Octoroks nearby. The last place I farm them is here in this pond. Here I usually farm for Hinox, bee honey, lizards, beetles, then I go to the pond. To find them, they're basically anywhere there's fish. The way fish spawning seems to work is that if there's a rare fish, they will be a common fish before they become that rare fish. For example, if there's a location for hardy bass, they will be Hyrule bass first, then eventually they'll become hardy bass. So anywhere you see water, check for fish and you should find Hyrule bass. But for some good locations, according to this object map, there are 39 Hyrule bass by the Dueling Peaks Tower. North of Kakariko, there's up to 30 bass that are Hyrule bass or Stamanoka bass. Again, some of that Stamanoka bass might be Hyrule bass first. But truthfully, I think the best way to farm Hyrule bass is to not focus on them. Get them when you see them, or focus on other fish. And now let's talk about some places that they always spawn according to this object map. First, by the waterfall by Dig Dog Bridge, you should find 7 of them, plus some other fish. The Squabble River west of the Dueling Peaks also has 7. There's 5 in the river in Dueling Peaks. And the Tetla Lake north of Kakariko Village. Truthfully, I have more than 700 and I've never farmed Stamanoka bass specifically except to make this video. They do randomly spawn in random places and especially close to other fish. I've collected this many just by farming other fish and picking them up when I see them. You can buy them at Zoro's Domain for 24 rupees each. And the best place to find them in the wild is at the water around Zora's Domain, and in the Tama Pond and Heber Plunge in the Heber region. Octoroks around the Zora region also may drop them. Next is Sizzlefin Trout. If you use an object map, you'll notice the only place they constantly spawn is in Zoro's Domain, also for 24 rupees each. But the best place to find them randomly in the wild is in the water in the Eldin region. You can find them around the Gut Check Rock and the lakes in the south side of Eldin. You can also get them from the Rock Octoroks. Next for Voltfin Trout. The best place to find Voltfin Trout is from the Heber Plunge. And right where it says the Zora River. You can also get them from Octoroks by the Thunder Plateau. You can also find them in the Tabantha Frontier or the Totori Lake, but they're big, and you have to look for them. And finally, Stealthfin Trout. The best place to find Stealthfin Trout is in the water around the Great Hyrule Forest. It's better to go at night since they glow, and be careful not to go too close to the forest or you'll be teleported. Now for where to find Mighty Carp. You can go to the Zora River. There's of course Mighty Carp, but you can also find some other fish as you follow along the river. There's also this little pond with lots of fish that's east of Plymouth Mountain. And another spot here in South Akkala. And if you go down the water, you'll find more at the bottom of Akkala Falls. There's also some other fish, even a big hardy bass. Now for armored carp. There's not many places, but you can go to Zora's River, which also has armored carp. The Tetla Lake north of Kakariko has armored carp and one of the single places that has Stamanoka bass. And finally, you can turn on armored carp in your Sheikah Slate and shoot the waters of Hateno Village with shock arrows. There's about 20 carp around Hateno. There's only one place in the whole game to find them, and that's in the water surrounding Impa's house in Kakariko Village. There's a chance for 3 on each side of the house to spawn, and all materials have 1% chance to respawn every minute that you're not close to the location. So come back randomly when you have a chance. For farming Porgy, it's not that bad to farm. You can buy 3 of both Porgy from the Lurelin General Store, and this would be the area to farm them. There's a whole bunch everywhere, but let me show you the hot spots. Having a shock arrow would be nice, some extra stamina dishes, and speed dishes are great. If you need help making some dishes, I've got a video for that too. Check the card in the corner or the link in the description. There's one spot in the middle of these 3 rocks south of Lurelin Village with 15 mighty Porgy. Next, there are 4 spots with 30 Porgy, for whatever reason 14 armored ones and 16 mighty ones. They are here south of the Cape Cressia hook, in the middle of the hook, one in the middle between the Point and Eventide Island, and another east of the Cape Kales Cliff. You can even notice a flock of birds above looking for some dinner. And the last place requires some work, and that's at the Eris Beach. There's more than 50 Porgies here, but there are some enemies. Fighting the enemies may cause the Porgies to scatter, or you can sneak below all the enemies.
Now for sneaky river snails, they do give low stealth when cooked, but you need 15 to upgrade your Sheikah gear to level 3. Like I mentioned earlier, you can get them randomly in shadow waters like Thunder Plateau, but there's one place they always respawn. Usually I go to this shrine, jump across the river to the Dea Lake, sit until night so I can see them better, and there's 5 in this well, and another 5 in this well. And sometimes you'll find a random 1 or 2 crawling around. Then I travel down to Faroche Hills, and you can get about 10 of them here. There's also some sunset fireflies and blue nightshades.
For farming crabs, let's first talk about bright-eyed crabs. There's a specific route that I like to take to farm them that helps me farm other materials too. And first, I would go to Zora's Domain. The moment you get out of the shrine, there's 3 crabs and some Fleet-Lotus Seeds. Having stealth will also help. From here, turning on the crabs on your sensor would help because there are a few crabs on the towers and under the domain. Just follow the Sheikah slates beeping. Next, I travel to the Varura Divine Beast, then I drop directly east. There are more bright-eyed crabs here, and there are some frogs. I then travel back to the Divine Beast, and for whatever reason, you may hear some beeping in the east again. You could drop down and collect them if you want, but I usually wind bomb or jump to the north. There is a Hinox, and after defeating the Hinox, I jump southwest for more crabs and frogs. Next, I travel north of the Lineru wetlands, south of the Zelo Pond. Walking down this beach, you'll encounter a few crabs, maybe some Yiga, and there's a traveler that sells 99 bananas. This next place may have all 3 crabs, and it's in the Lineru Bay. The small island in the middle with all the wind has a decent amount of crabs. There's also a group of crabs across the bay. I do have a route that I take when I farm lots of materials at once, and it is here in the Lineru Bay. Check the card in the corner or the link in the description for that route. Now, for farming Iron Shell and Razor Claw crabs, I don't have an amazing way to farm them. They usually are close together, so what I would do is turn one of them on the Sheikah slate and go to Lurelin. First, I'll buy the 3 crabs that are at the shop. Then follow the Sheikah slate and make your way around the hook. You'll get a few crabs and you can come back again another time for more. The crabs can respawn at random locations. Fairies appear sometimes in grass after being cut, at Great Fairy Fountains, in this little pond at the southeast corner of Lake Hylia, on top of the Deku tree, and on top of Ebon Mountain by Link's house. However, fairies can only appear if Link is carrying less than 3 fairies in his inventory. So at first, the maximum number of fairies was 11. You go to the Great Fairy Fountain and have Link hold fairies until he has 2 in his inventory, and 4 fairies should appear. Put the fairies back in the inventory and grab the 4 fairies. Now to carry 21 fairies. If Link lets go of fairies, they will fly away because Link is too close to them. But if you drop a bomb, hold the fairies, drop the fairies, and blow the bomb up as soon as possible, the fairies will not fly away. This is a trick you can use to carry 21 fairies. The problem with this trick is that Link can only drop 10 items at a time. If Link drops an 11th item, the first item dropped will disappear. So you can do this bomb trick only 2 times. So in order to get 21, Link needs to drop 10, hold 5, keep 2 in his inventory, and collect the 4 that appear.
How to get 21 fairies in your inventory explained in 1 minute. Fairies spawn in fairy fountains here, 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 and here. Grab fairies. Go to another fairy fountain, hold the fairies in your hand. More will appear. Grab those fairies until you have 7. Go to another fairy fountain, hold 5. Grab the fairies that appear. This gets you 11 fairies. Next fairy fountain should answer the big question. Drop a bomb, hold 5 fairies, release them, and blow up the bomb right away. The fairies won't run away. Hold 5 fairies, grab all fairies. This should get you a max 15 fairies. And do this again until you have 17 fairies. Go to your last fairy fountain, drop 5 fairies, drop another 5 fairies, hold 5, and 4 fairies should spawn. Grab all fairies. You now have 21 fairies. Yay! Winterwing butterflies can be bought from Beetle at the Tabantha Bridge and the Gerudo Canyon Stable. You buy them with 10 rupees each. You can find them in cold climates, but where I like to farm them is around the Tundra Plateau. I can wear stealth and use speed up and not worry about cold resistance gear. Summerwing butterflies can be bought from Beetle at the Karakara Bazaar, the Tabantha Bridge Stable, and the Snowfield Stable. All for 10 rupees each. You can find them almost anywhere, but I like to farm them around Salari Hill and Rowan Plain. Thunderwing butterflies can be bought from Beetle at the Lakeside, Riverside, and Tabantha Bridge Stable, also for 10 rupees each. They can also be found almost anywhere, but they appear when it's raining. I like to farm them from Thunder Plateau when it's raining. At the same time, I farm winter wing butterflies when it's not. I also farm them around Slary Hill and Rowan Plain when it's raining, and of course, I farm the summer wing butterflies when it's not. You can buy them from Beetle at the Wetland and the East Akala stables for 10 rupees each. You can also find them in the wild all over Death Mountain. What I like to do is wear 1 flame breaker equipment and 2 stealth equipment. This way, I can get close to the butterflies without them flying away, I don't have to worry about fire, and I can still use speed boost.
Now for where to find darners. Remember to use the Sheikah sensor to help you find them. Note that they do fly away if you get too close, so having stealth up will help. They all seem to appear between 4 AM and 9 PM. And also, if you've seen my video on butterflies, it's basically the same locations. Warp darners can be bought from Beetle at Gerudo Canyon Stable, Serene Stable, Rito Stable, and the Snowfield Stable. You can find them almost anywhere, but I like to farm them around Salari Hill and Rawan Plain. Cold darners can be bought from Beetle at the Woodland Stable and the Karakara Bazaar. You can find them in cold climates, but where I like to find them is around the Rito Village and the Thunder Plateau. I can wear stealth and use speed boost and not worry about cold resistance gear. And electric darters can be bought from Beetle at the Riverside Stable. They can also be found almost anywhere, but they appear when it's raining. I like to farm them from the Thunder Plateau when it's raining. At the same time, I could farm cold darters when it's not. And also around Solari Hill and Rawan Plain when it's raining. And of course, I can farm warm darters too. If you need them right away because you want to do the quest for Manny, you can go to the crop field just north of Hatino Village. Cut the grass there and you should be able to get about 10 crickets. You can always sit again until night to collect more. The next place isn't to me the best place, but it's another great place to farm them, and that's at the Riverside Stable. And lots of grass around the shrine. But to me, the best place to farm them, of course, is in Satori Mountain, or at least in the field east of Satori Mountain. If you cut the grass, there's lots of crickets and also some high-tailed lizards if you need them. Bladed, rugged, and energetic rhino beetles can be annoying to farm. There are many places to get them, like Lurlin, Akrak Forest, or by the Rito Village, but today we'll learn the way I like to farm them. You can find beetles almost anywhere, and some people like to farm them in Lurlin, but I like to farm them in East Necluda. I like to do it in my own specific, controlled way. Travel to the shrine, turn on the sensor for either one of the beetles. There are 4 areas of trees that I farm for beetles. These 2 ponds, this wetlands, and this marsh. I go to the beetle that the sensor is sensing. Collect all the beetles in the area until the sensor finds one at a different area. Then I change the sensor to another beetle, hoping to stay in the same area. I then collect those beetles and repeat the process for the third beetle. Now I repeat again for the first or second beetle. This might keep me in the same area, but if not, I will go to the next area and do the same thing. Then I do it again in the next area. Lately, I've been staying down in these 2 ponds. You can consider this one area since they're pretty much next to one another. I follow the same process, just going back and forth between the 2 ponds. If the sensor reads a beetle up in the wetlands, I just go to the other pond and a beetle will appear. A few things you may need to know before farming for beetles. They appear between the time 7 PM and 7 AM. They will fly away if you get too close, and they will fly away if you're too loud. So having stealth dishes or equipment will help. Having both at level 3 will not stack. If Link has level 3 stealth, he does not need to crawl or walk slowly, but pressing the run button will cause the beetle to fly away. Now for where to find sunset fireflies. You can almost find them in random places at night, and you have to be sneaky to get them. So you either need stealth boost or crouch and surprise them. The first place I'll show you is in Kakariko. You can go here for the side quest. There are 13 fireflies just around this bridge east of the village by the entrance. You may need to jump and glide around to get them, and if some of them fly away, you can always sit until night again, or fast travel again and the ones you've missed should reappear. Next, let's talk about Satori Mountain. When the mountain is glowing, there are a total of 33 fireflies at Rutile Lake. And of course, you can get so much more at Satori Mountain. In the Faron region, there's a bridge by the Zonai ruins. There are 30 fireflies, but like Kakariko, you'll have to run and glide to get some of them, and you can travel back or sleep at night again to get the ones that flew away. And west of the Faron region is Farosh Hills. I used to like going here a lot. There are sneaky river snails, frogs, blue nightshades, and there are a total of 25 sunset fireflies. For farming frogs, you should know that you can farm both frogs in the same place, but tireless frogs usually appear only if it's raining. There are some decent specific places to farm them, but there are actually better places than what's shown in an object map. But first, the decent places in the object map, and I'll explain what else you can farm in those locations. If you go to the Horse Ferry, you'll find 10 frogs, but you can also get some butterflies. Another good place is in the water east of Solari Hill. There are some frogs and it's a great place to get some Fleet-Lotus Seeds. Next, let's take a trip to Vauruda. If you drop right to the east of Vauruda, you'll find a good spot for some frogs and bright-eyed crabs. Then if you go back to Vauruda, go north. There's a little pond with more frogs. Before I show you the place I like to go, there's one place that's interesting. And that of course is Satori Mountain. If you go to the Rutile Lake while the mountain is glowing, there are 20 frogs and literally a whole bunch of other stuff. Now for the place I like to go, it is the Lanero Wetlands. For whatever reason, the object map doesn't show this location, but the frogs keep coming non-stop. If you want tireless frogs, you can sit until it rains. If you feel like you farmed enough frogs, or you feel like the wetlands is running out of frogs, just travel back to the shrine and all the frogs will respawn, and you can farm 4 more. Hightail lizards can be found all over Hyrule in regular climates. You can cut some grass and they may appear. You can also buy from Beetle at Lakeside Stable and the South Akala Stable.
Thank you!
But there's one place I like to farm them, and that's in the East Nakluda around the 3 Giant Brothers Shrine Quest. I like to stay in the Koto Pond and the Hanu Pond. I turn on the sensor, and if it reads that the lizards are on the other side of any mountains, I go to the other pond and another lizard usually spawns somewhere. Next is Hardy Lizards. If you want to buy Hardy Lizards, you can buy them from Beetle at these stables: the Foothill, Gerudo Canyon, Highland, Outskirts, South Akala, and the Woodland Stable. However, the place I would farm them is also at East Nakluda around the 3 Giant Brothers Shrine Quest. I usually farm both Hightail and Hardy Lizards at the same time. I target one of them with a Sheikah sensor, collect as many as I can, then when I feel like the sensor is bringing me over a mountain, I change the sensor to the other lizard. Then I just do this over and over again. Finally, there's one small place that's great to farm Hightail lizards and Hardy lizards, and you guessed it, and it's Satori Mountain. However, it can only be when the mountain is glowing. If you go to the north side of the mountain when it's glowing, you can find about 20 Hightail lizards and 10 Hardy lizards. And finally, we have Fireproof lizards. And the best place to farm Fireproof lizards, like I mentioned earlier, there are more than 10 lizards in the southern mine. Remember that stealth will help and you can attack them if not, and make sure you check under the rocks too. Basically, they're all over the Elden region and Death Mountain. Make sure you take a picture and target them with your sensor. And lastly, you can buy them from Beetle at the South Akala Stable. Now the last thing before talking about some good farming locations, Topaz, Rubies, Sapphires are really easy to get using the Infinite Rupee glitch. Link in the description. Now let's talk about talus farming before I talk about ore deposit locations. There are 40 total taluses, and I'm going to use this object map from zeldadungeon.net to explain which of the 40 taluses are easier to get to, region by region. I'll share the link in the description for this object map, and I will actually farm these locations just for the heck of it to see how many of each ore I will get. Also, I am skipping luminous taluses just because I want more ore variety. Starting with Hebra, there's this talus. You don't need Revali's Gale to go up here. There is an updraft if you have this shrine from the DLC. You can use this one, but you need to run across and climb. I think you can make it, but Revali's Gale will help. Then we have this one, go to Sell Me spot and just jump south. Shield Surf, that works, and then you get to this talus. This one, you probably need Revali's Gale. You can use it to fly up here, but if you need to, you can jump across the platforms, but that's just longer. This talus, the easiest way to get to this one is not this shrine, it's actually from the tower and Wind Bomb all the way across. It's really annoying to get out of here if you remember that shrine. These two in Tabantha are easy. Go to the shrine, jump west, go to the shrine, jump east. And also this one here, climb up one of these and Wind Bomb over there. Here in the Gerudo Highlands, these three, I didn't find any convenient way to get them, so I didn't go. This one, just go to this shrine and fly up, and there you go. Those were luminous, I didn't get that one. This is the one in the Great Plateau. This shrine, go across. I didn't get any of these, those are luminous. Then we have these three, 1, 2, 3. Tower, fly, shrine, just jump down. This one I also got, but it's better to go to this shrine because it's higher, then you can Wind Bomb north. Then I have this one, this talus. I went to actually this tower and I jumped across. You can probably go to this shrine too and jump across, or Wind Bomb across. This one, the same thing. I actually didn't go here because otherwise I'd have to run around. I went here and Wind Bomb across. Same thing for this one. Go to this shrine. This is by the house. Go on a house and Wind Bomb north. Over here, this tower, Wind Bomb across. These are pretty straightforward. I didn't get that one. And then I'll do this one first. Go in this cave, you have to come out, go on top, and Wind Bomb across. You can run, of course. And then these in Death Mountain, this one, jump across, run. DLC Shrine is better, but you can also go to this one. Again, you have to get out of the cave first to go through here. But DLC Shrine is best. Jump across here, DLC Shrine here, go this way. And this one, if you have this DLC Shrine, it's easier. There is an updraft from the Titan. You can use the updraft and probably Wind Bomb across this way. And this one I did get. It's annoying too. You have to go in this cave and just go slightly out, then climb on top and then Wind Bomb. And that is all the taluses that I did, at least.
Actually, I lied. There's one more talus. This one, I go to this shrine, Wind Bomb across, and then I just run to the talus.
After farming these taluses, I got 40 flint, 72 amber, 90 opal, 31 luminous stones, 9 topaz, 19 rubies, 13 sapphires, and 9 diamonds. Now let's talk about some ore deposit locations. I'm sure there are a few more good locations than the ones I chose, but I used the Zelda mod's object map to create some routes I could take. I looked really closely and tried to pick some locations that are closer to the shrines and don't take too much time to travel. You can check the link in the description for the object map and feel free to use your own routes. Again, starting with the Hebrew region, this spot, I actually went to the tower. I jumped south and got to these ore deposits, and this is the path that I took to get them. If you have the DLC Shrine, you could go here too. And then I went back to the shrine and jumped south to get here. There's also a rare deposit there. Then to the west, we have this one shrine. Go northwest, right on the other side of this bridge. We go around and get these ore deposits. The next place I went to is actually in the Akala region. Akala Tower, jump east, run all the way south, jump down here, then you get these, go all the way down here and grab these. And then by the Great Ferry, this one's pretty obvious, southeast, then go back and drop down as you collect those. Now we're here by the tech lab. You pass this guardian. No, don't pass the guardian. You go down here. There's a few moblins. You can go moblin farming while you're here. Down, grab this, jump across. Now this, you have to get these first. Then you climb up. And then you can get these 3 ore deposits. Then by the Lanayru Mountain, you go to the shrine all the way in the east and jump all the way down. You have to go to this one first because here is a cave. This is a cave. That's why the route goes in this circular direction. Then you go south and get those. Then we have the Hatino Tower. These are the ones I got. There's a few right next to it. This looks like it's not too far. Maybe I could have gotten that one. Then we have by the horse stable fairy person. Go to the shrine and jump east. There's a few horses there. Ignore them and you grab these ore deposits. Here in the Gerudo Desert, go to this shrine, run around this rock. There's a rare deposit here. Go up north. This is a little tricky. These two are on the ground, I think. Then you have the Revali's Gale up. Grab this one, jump across. You might have the Revali Gale up here. You can climb up this one and grab this. Jump across, climb, or Revali Gale this way and grab those. This is really far, really high. It's not worth getting. Then the last place I went is in the Elden region. First I went to this tower and drop down right away, go north, and this is the path I took. You're gonna have to like climb up and down a little bit to get these. I think I wound up getting this one also. Then from this tower, I tried to wind bomb over here, but I failed, so I dropped. So I wound up getting this, and then I just ran the rest of the way to get all of these over here. Then you're gonna drop down. There's lizards here, so go lizard farming here. Go through this. There's a cave in here, some lava. There's some choo-choos and keys, and you'll be okay, I think. Grab those ores. Then you go to the other side for more keys. Then you leave, and then you farm this area by the. This is the mine. Then if you have the DLC shrine, you can go here. Again, the best way, I guess, to get this one is to go to this shrine. But again, you have to go out through this way and run around. But from the shrine, you get this group. I run across and grab this group. There is a talus here. You can kill that one. Get these. Go north. Then I went across down this bridge. There's a Lizalfos and some keys here. I got them. Then I jumped across. Then I followed this path all the way down. This is the path I take a lot because there's some Lizalfos this way. And of course, I grabbed some butterflies, ostriches, and lizards whenever I saw them. This is the path I took all the way across over here. And there's a talus here also. So from farming all these locations, including the taluses, I got 130 flint, 200 amber, 191 opal, 44 luminous stones, 31 topaz, 37 rubies, 35 sapphires, and 11 diamonds. And one thing I didn't keep in mind as I was farming these ore locations is that you can also get some rock salt. I couldn't count how many I got because my rock salt is maxed out.
My favorite places to farm are Rito Village. I'm going to jump across to this island, jump across again to grab these two. Tabantha Tower, I'm going to jump just north of it, travel back to the tower, then jump across to the Great Fairy Fountain, and then run around to grab this one. The shrine right at Satori Hill, there's a whole bunch of stones right around it. Satori Mountain, there's stones just south of it. In the Elden region, I'm going to travel to this shrine, jump across and grab these 3 luminous ores. I'm going to then travel north to this shrine, jump across and grab the ores here. I will travel back to Elden Tower, jump north and grab these 2. I will travel back, then jump south and grab these 2 and run across and grab this one. Kala Ancient Tech Lab. I'm going to jump down and grab these 3. The Vol Peak, travel to this shrine and grab these here. Then jump across all the way over here and grab these. The best place to farm is Farron Tower. I'm going to jump down, grab these here, travel back to the tower, jump all the way across and grab all of these.
This run took me 24 minutes and I got 162 luminous stones. I made 11,340 rupees in 24 minutes. Now for where to find them. There are a few locations where diamonds may appear, a few monsters that drop them, and 3 locations that are guaranteed to have one. If we're using luck, it's possible to get some diamonds from ore deposits, taluses, and silver and gold enemies. Now for silver and gold enemies, you can defeat whatever you want, but I suggest farming Lynels. You get great weapons, arrows, and a chance for other materials like star fragments. There are 22 Lynels in normal mode and 23 in master mode. Again, you can only get diamonds from silver and gold Lynels, and they level up depending on how many total enemies you defeated in the game. So if you're still in the beginning or in the middle of the game, these Lynels may not be silver or gold yet. You can use the object maps I mentioned earlier, and if you need to defeat some Lynels, I have a link in the description to help you with that too. Now for the 3 places that guarantee diamonds, the first is the Zora's Domain. The Zora Lido will give you 2 diamonds if you give him 10 luminous stones at first. Then after that he'll always give you 1 diamond for 10 luminous stones. The only thing you have to do is go through some really long text. However, this is the most consistent way to get diamonds. You just have to farm some luminous stones. And of course, I already have a video for that. Link in the description. The next place is in Tarry Town. After starting the side quest, then bringing Grayson and Pelison there, Pelison will sell ores, and you can get a diamond from him for 2,000 rupees. If you want him to restock, go to a fire far away, sit for 24 hours, then when you go back, he'll have a diamond ready for you to buy. If you need some rupees and are curious on the best ways to get rupees, check the card in the corner or the link in the description for a playlist I put together of all the rupee farming methods in the game and how I compare them one to another. And the last place that has a diamond is under a rock on Satori Mountain. From the shrine on the mountain, you can jump south towards this cliff and pick up the rock. The diamond has a 1% chance to respawn every minute that passes when you're not on or adjacent to the mountain. So I would check the rock every time you get on Satori. I assume you go here regularly anyways because you're probably collecting all materials possible, like me. Now for farming Moblin parts. Fangs will come naturally, but Moblins only drop 1 horn and 1 guts when defeated. What makes horns just a little easier than guts is that Stalblins will also drop some fangs and horns. So fangs will be collected naturally and horns would be faster than guts because of the Stalblins. This means we're really just farming for guts. The places I chose to farm Moblins are locations where there are a few Moblins close together, but also easy to get to. For example, this location in Hebra has 5 Moblins, but there's no fast way to get there, so I don't count it. But this spot also has 5 Moblins. It isn't necessarily a good spot unless you're good at wind bombing up. Because from the shrine in the cave you have to make a climb. Then after you defeat these Moblins, if you want, you can fly south for 3 more Moblins, but they might be high level, you'll be okay. The next decent place is right off the Great Plateau. There are 8 moblins. Next is the shrine north of the Colosseum ruins. Follow the path through Mount Daphnis towards the ancient tree stump. You'll get through 6 moblins. And the last place is the best place for moblins, and it's in the area by the Akala Tech Lab. There are a total of 17 moblins. I start by the Tech Lab, then make a circle around the area. You'll also find some ore deposits in the end, and then you can jump down if you want more deposits and a few guardian stalkers by the beach. I don't know why, but I enjoy going through these moblin routes, and I hope you do too. There are 4 types of Lizalfos tails: green, yellow, red, and icy. First, with green tails, they're actually called Lizalfos tails. You should know that you cannot actually get them from green Lizalfos. You can only get them from blue, black, silver, and golden Lizalfos. They're practically all over Hyrule, so you shouldn't need help finding them. Yellow Lizalfos tails can be found from electric Lizalfos. There are places where they always spawn, but they also spawn randomly throughout the Gerudo Desert. Don't be too close when hitting them with a headshot. Red Lizalfos tails can be found from the Fire Breath Lizalfos. You can get 5 in the Gerudo Desert, but most of them are on Death Mountain. There should be 11 in the abandoned North Mine, and you can follow this path to farm them. You can hit them with any ice weapon and they will die instantly. Icy Lizalfos tails can be found from Ice Breath Lizalfos. There are some places in the Gerudo Highlands and Hebra Mountains where they always spawn, but they also spawn randomly in cold climate. You can hit them with anything fire and they will die instantly. Now for the ways to collect and find their drops. I'm going to show you where all the Lynels are and what weapons they hold. And I should mention that if they do carry swords, then they also carry shields. Then, if you want to use Lynels to collect some elemental arrows, I will show you all the Lynels again, but by which elemental arrows they drop. I first want to talk about the 2 Lynels in Hyrule Castle. They both have a sword and a shield, and they will always be blue in normal mode and white in master mode. That means that they will always have the Mighty Lynel sword, shield, and bow. So they aren't missable. But some of you might say that after you defeat the Lynel, their parts will disappear. But there is a trick. I have no idea why this works, but if you save when the Lynel appears and then reload your game, after you defeat the Lynel, they will drop their weapons. Here are the other locations of the Lynels by region, starting with the 3 in the northern Tabantha snowfield. The one on the left has a crusher, the middle one has a sword, and the one to the right has a spear. There's one all the way in the west, not worth going to, but that one has a crusher. There's one south of the Tabantha Bridge, that one has a crusher. In the field west of the Lost Woods, this one has a spear. In the northern Badlands, there are 3. Starting with the west, that one has a spear, the second one has a crusher, and the one to the right has a sword. In Akala, there's 2. One has a sword, and the one north of that has a spear. There's one in Ploymus Mountain, but this one is always red, so it will always have a Lynel sword and shield. In Master Mode, it will be blue. South of the Talus Plateau, that Lynel has a sword. West of Mount Lanayru, at the Lanayru Road East Gate, that one has a sword. On top of the mountain north of Farron Tower, that Lynel has a spear. In the plains all the way in the south, the southern one has a crusher, and the one north of that has a spear. There's one in the Colosseum that has a fire sword instead of a Lynel sword when it's a higher level. In the Gerudo Highlands, there's 2. There's one in the east that has a crusher, and there's one to the west that has a spear. And finally, there's one in Master Mode, and that Lynel is on the Great Plateau, which has a crusher. If you're looking to farm them, just fight them all after a blood moon, but you don't need to fight all of them. There's a few that are easy to get because they're close to a shrine. First, I usually go to the 2 in the south. There's one in the Gerudo Highlands. It's okay to go there if you have a Raleigh Gale because it's up a mountain. The one on the Great Plateau is white in Master Mode, but it does carry bomb arrows, which I'll mention again later. The Tabantha Bridge Stable one, it's very close to the shrine. The 3 in the Tabantha Snowfield is great because they're all together. You can even find 2 at once if you want to try. The 3 in the Northern Badlands is difficult to get, but I usually like to wind bomb west from the Typhlo Ruins, then I ride the bike north to fight the other 2. And the 2 in Akala aren't actually super close to a shrine, but they're too close together, so it might be worth the trip. Before I mention locations to farm them, it's important to mention that you can change any of the choo-choos to one other elemental one. This is in case you just want to change choo-choos to another. The choo-choo needs to be exposed to whichever element you want to change it to. But be careful not to directly hit the jelly or it will just burst. But you cannot change them into normal ones. For some tricks, if you want red choo-choo jellies, you can drop them in Death Mountain and wait a few seconds. You can also drop them by a fire. You can use the fire rod or just swing a fire weapon over it. If you want white choo-choos, you can use an ice rod or an ice weapon. That's all I can think of. If you want yellow choo-choo jellies, you can use lightning rod or a lightning weapon. You can use the shock trap also. I have a video explaining how to do shock traps if you need it. You can check the card in the corner or the link in the description. Also, all the Gerudo Desert Shrines deal with electricity if you want to use that. Now for the locations. Again, keep in mind the elemental ones you can get just by changing them. If you can't change any into normal ones, there aren't many great places to farm a lot at once, but they do pop up in random places, so you may naturally collect them. There is a place to farm an infinite amount, but first let's talk about one decent location, and that is in the forest just east of the Great Plateau. You can find about 10 choo-choos in this area, and this is a decent place to farm some moblins. Now for the place to get an infinite amount is at the Korok Forest. So go to the east side of the Korok Forest and speak to the Korok for the Test of Wood challenge. The Korok will give you some gear and you have to make it to the end. If you drop or lose any of the gear, you lose. So to get infinite choo-choo jellies, having speed will help, but start the challenge then run ahead. You'll see 4 choo-choos. Then unequip, drop, or throw any of the weapons and you'll lose. Then you can do this again. Keep in mind, if you already have any of these weapons in your inventory, you won't borrow them from the Korok, you'll use the ones that you have. So if you're collected like me, you want to make sure you don't use the one you're keeping or else you'll damage it. Or don't accidentally throw the sword. Now for red choo-choo jellies, they're all basically on Death Mountain. If you go to the tower, going down the cliffs by the tower, there are a total of 30 choo-choos, and being fireproofed will help. And if you're decent at wind bombing, or you're willing to make the trip, going east from the tower there's a little cave and there's 15 choo-choos there. There are more to the north of Death Mountain, but it'll take some work to get there from their closest shrines. Or you can just stand on Death Mountain or a campfire and drop choo-choo jellies until they turn red. For white choo-choo jelly, there's one good place to get a good number of them, and that's at the very left shrine in the Gerudo Highlands. Go to the Skull Cave north for 5 choo-choos, then go east for 6 more. You can always change the choo-choos that you have into white ones with a blizzard rod. For yellow choo-choo jellies, go to the Wasteland Tower. You'll get lots of yellow choo-choo jellies and decent place to farm some moblins. Jump north and you'll see 2 choo-choos and a moblin. There's more to the west and a small camp with 3 moblins and more choo-choos. Then head west under the bridge for a hill of 13 choo-choos. Just be careful they don't roll away. And the place that allows you to get an infinite amount of choo-choo jellies, but also some bokoblin parts if you want them. Go to the top west side of Eventide Island and you'll find 3 bokoblins and 3 electric choo-choos. After you defeat them, you can travel here again and the enemies will respawn. If you have the DLC's travel medallion, you can just leave it here and keep traveling here. And keep doing this until you get as much as you want. Your other option is, if you don't have that DLC, is to save and reload. You can use this to get an infinite amount of any elemental choo-choo jellies by just changing them. To find key swings, you need a total of 9. You'll probably get enough as you play through the game, but if you still want to farm them, they show up in swarms throughout Hyrule Field. You can shoot them with bomb arrows, or shoot them with shock arrows in the rain to hit as many as possible. There are also a few good spots on the map that have a good group of keys. There's 8 keys in the Yiga Clan hideout entrance. There's also 8 southwest of the Hateno Tower. And in the Cornell Hills, it has 4 spots with keys. One has 8, one has 5, one has 4, and the other has 7. Next we have electric key swings. You need a total of 15 electric key swings. There's a cave just north of the Riola Spring. There are 6 electric keys. And if you didn't know, this is a good place to farm Farouche. Check the card in the corner or the link in the description for my first video on how to farm Farouche. There's also a spot in the Azura area east of the Lineru Tower. There are 7 electric keys here. That should be enough to collect for the climber's gear, but if you want to farm them, you can farm them usually at night around Hyrule. I like to go in the Gerudo Desert. Just turn them on in the sensor, and there are many other things to farm in the Gerudo Desert like Molduga and some Lizalfos. Also, there's 3 Wizrobes in the Ridgeland Tower. You probably want to defeat all the Lizalfos first, then get the attention of the 3 Wizrobes. It helps if you have shock resistance, but if you just hang out, they may summon some electric keys. This doesn't work as consistently as I would like, but it does have its moments. This is unlimited electric key swings, but Gerudo Desert is probably better. Next we have Ice Key Swings. Of all the key swings, Ice Key Swings are the ones you need the most of for equipment upgrades. You need a total of 48. Since you need them the most, I'll show you a few locations. There's a cave south of the Hateno Tower with 3 ice keys. East of the Spring of Wisdom also has 3. In the Gerudo Highlands, there are 2 enemy camps that have 4 ice key swings. And there's a cave that has 6. And this enemy skull camp has 5 ice keys. And finally, the Hebrew region has 3 camps that has 4 ice keys. And there's a cave south of the Shrine of the Mountain with 4. And the Skull Cave in the Tabantha Snowfield has 5. If you're looking to farm just ice key swings, I like to farm them as I'm farming in the Tabantha Snowfield at night. You can farm as many things as Ice Lizalfos, 3 Lionels, the rare Rawhole birds, and ice keys also randomly appear, so you can defeat them when you see them. For fire key swings, you need a total of 39, and the best place to farm them is of course on Death Mountain. If you go to the Eldin Tower and go south, you can find about 20 fire keys, along with some fire choo-choos. Then if you go to the cave east of the tower, you can find about 10. And you can farm them when you see them flying around Death Mountain, and it's a good place to farm some Fire Breath Lizalfos, Smotherwing Butterflies, Fireproof Lizards, and more. You can get ice and fire keys the same way I mentioned getting electric key swings from Wizrobes, but there isn't a good place with more than 1 fire or ice Wizrobe. And finally we have Keys Eyeballs. First, I want to remind you that you cannot get Keys Eyeballs from Keys Swarms. Naturally, you should be able to get 9 as you play through the game, but if you're farming them, I say don't farm them. Or at least as you farm all the other keys, you will naturally start to collect keys eyeballs. Now if you want to find them, there are 3 places I normally would go, and the first place is around the Thunder Plateau. I usually go here to farm things like Swift Violets, Butterflies, Darners, Endura Shrooms, but I always go to the Octoroks here. There are 17 of them, and these Octoroks have a small chance to drop the rare Voltfin Trout. The other place I would go is west of the Farron Tower. There's 11 Octoroks here, but this is a decent location to get some Hearty Truffles, a Hinox, and a secret hole in the rocks. If you're curious about these random holes in the game, check the card in the corner or the link in the description for one of the videos I made. The final place I would go is to what's called the Rock Woods. There are a total of 16 Octoroks here. There are also some decent things around this area. There's 2 Lionels, some big Hearty Truffles, some electric rhino beetles, and more. But anyways, like I said, there are only 4 Moldugas, and they are in the Toma Dunes to the west. Then just southeast between these 3 rock platforms, all the way south Gerudo around the Arbiter grounds, and east around the southern oasis. You don't need the Moldu King for the medal, but the Moldu King is in the East Barrens. You do need to defeat it as part of the DLC quest. Before I talk about how to defeat them, if you're a collector like me, here's a route that I would take to farm Moldugas and even more materials. I travel to the shrine in Tuma Dunes to the west, defeat the Molduga, then I get some Voltfruit here. You can go north for a little bit, there are some other Voltfruit, and chances are you might come across 1 or 2 Lizalfos. Next, I would wind bomb south to the rock platforms, defeat the Molduga here, defeat all the Lizalfos for some Lizalfos parts, and the high level ones will give you some ores. There's also some bokoblins in the middle, but I usually just leave them alone. You can walk here, and it might be beneficial because Lizalfos randomly spawn in Gerudo Desert, and so do sparrows. So sometimes I walk and collect Lizalfos and sparrows when I see them. With that said, after I'm done with this area, I usually target the electric Lizalfos in my Sheikah sensor. Then I make my way towards the other 2 Moldugas. I follow wherever my Sheikah sensor takes me, and I collect all the Lizalfos, sparrows, Hydromelons, and Voltfruits that are in the way. There are 3 types of Hinox parts: toenails, teeth, and guts. And depending on which Hinox you're fighting, they have a different drop rates for different parts. Stalnox have 70% chance to only drop 2 to 4 only teeth, so I don't really farm Stalnoxes. And each of the Hinox can drop toenails and teeth, but the red Hinox has a 20% chance to drop guts, the blue Hinox has a 50% chance to drop guts, and the black Hinox will always drop guts. So I'll explain which Hinox are worth getting just because they're either really close to get to from a shrine, or you can farm many other things at the same time. This is the map of all Hinoxes that are not Stalnoxes, starting from all the way in the west. This Hinox, ignore. No good way to get there, it's not worth spending the time. This Hinox to the south of the Rito village. This one is very close to the shrine, so yes. But also, there are other materials to farm. You can get Tabantha Wheat and frogs from cutting grass. This next one, south of the Thunder Plateau. Travel to the Thunder Plateau shrine, and there are many things to farm here. There are winterwing butterflies, cold darners, octoroks, swift violets, and if it's raining, thunderwing butterflies, electric darners, frogs. And in the Skyblends where the Hinox is, there are some Endura Shrooms, Hearty Radishes, and 2 big Hearty Radishes. Now there's another Hinox to the east, but I'm skipping this one for a second. Next I would travel to the central tower. Then I would wind bomb north. There's a guardian here that I like to defeat. Then I ride west for this Hinox. Then I chop down a tree and wind bomb up to the Hinox that I skipped earlier. This Hinox by the Dig Dog Bridge is usually the first Hinox I go to after a blood moon because it's very close to a shrine. Next, we have these Hinoxes in Solari Plains. There are many things to do going to these 2 Hinoxes depending on what you're looking for. First, travel to the shrine on Solari Hill. Right by the shrine, there's a few luminous stones or deposits. Just in this area, you can farm some Summerwing Butterflies, Warm Darners, and Thunderwing Butterflies, and Electric Darners if it's raining. In the water south of the shrine, you can usually get some frogs and Fleet-Lotus Seeds. Continue north and you can fight a Lionel. Next, I usually get the Hinox to the north, then I go to this little hilly area. There's some big Hearty Truffles and some Razorshrooms. I would then defeat the Hinox to the south. And if you want more things, if you follow the path going east, there are more Razorshrooms along the way all the way up to the Lost Woods entrance. The next Hinox in the Typhlo Ruins. I always go here because this one is very close to the shrine. It's dark, but you'll be okay. There's 2 south of the Hyrule Castle. For this, I fast travel to the wetland stable and collect many radishes in the forest and a courser bee honey. Then I wind bomb to the first Hinox. Then you can first defeat the guardian close by, then I go straight to the next Hinox to the north. There's also many apples here and a courser bee honey. Now for the right third of the map. We'll start from the north. There's a Hinox by the Gut Check Rock. Go here. It's my favorite cooking pot since it's really close to a shrine. But here, you can collect some butterflies, darners, sizzlefin trout, and sunshrooms. To the east, travel to the Skull Lake, then jump east. There's the next Hinox. Even though it seems like this Hinox is by itself, there's big Hearty Radish, a big Hearty Truffle close by, and if you go south, there's the Rock Woods. And going even farther, there's a Lionel and some Zapshrooms. The next Hinox is just south of the Akala Tower. That's all. Fast travel and jump south. Not much here. This one's just easy to get to. The next place I go almost every time, and it's Vah Ruta. I wind bomb north because of course there's a Hinox, but close by there are some bright-eyed crabs and lots of fish to the north. I would then fast travel back to Varuda. Then I wind bomb east for the other Hinox. There's a Hinox in the Lanayru wetlands. I like to go here because there's a Guardian. There's also some Lizalfos, frogs especially when it's raining, and lots of Fleet-Lotus Seeds. There's another Hinox east of the Lanayru Tower, but I don't go here for whatever reason. Speaking of not going, there's a Hinox west of the Lanayru Promenade and north of the Lanayru Promenade. Those are annoying to get to, so I don't go there. However, the one east of the Promenade, I don't always go here for the Hinox, but when I do, it's to farm Nature parts. Check the card in the corner or the link in the description for how to farm Nature parts fast. I found a trick. Also, while you're here, there's a lineup. Now there's one more Hinox all the way to the east on this little peninsula, but I don't usually get this one. However, the Lanayru Bay is actually a great place to farm blue shell snails, some Octoroks, Corgi, crabs, and sometimes Nadra. Also, there's a Lionel at the end of the peninsula. Now we're going to the Farron Tower. Jump north of the tower and you'll have to climb a bit, but it's worth it. You can get durians, 3 big Hearty Radishes, the Hinox, and a Lionel. And if you travel back to the tower, you can jump southwest for that Hinox. This is a great place to farm the very rare Octorok eyeballs. I also have a video on how to farm Octoroks, link in the card and in the description. There's another Hinox to the north, but I don't go here because there's no fast way to get there. There are 5 more Hinoxes left. The one all the way to the southeast, of course, is Eventide Island. Nothing much here. Fast travel, defeat some enemies if you want their guts, but otherwise, this is a good Hinox to get. Also, if you're not into glitches, there's a trick to get infinite arrows here on Eventide. You can check the link in the description or watch my video on how to farm all the arrows. Now the last location is probably one of the places I spent the most time. The 3 Hinox brothers in East Nakluda has, of course, the 3 Hinoxes, but it is really the best place to get beetles, lizards, and coarser bee honey. If you'd like to know how to farm beetles or lizards, check the card in the corner or the links in the description. Then after defeating the 3 brothers, I head east to get this last Hinox.
Now for finding ancient parts, we'll talk about how to collect a good variety of them, and we'll talk about the best ways to get specific parts like giant ancient cores. There's 3 ways to get ancient parts that aren't glitches. You get them from interacting with Decayed Guardians, from treasure chests, which I won't mention them all, but I'll mention the ones with giant ancient cores since there aren't that many. And of course, defeating Guardians. And of course, there is the infinite ancient parts glitch. That in itself is a whole other video, which I already have. Check the card in the corner or the links in the description. For the Decayed Guardians, they're all over Hyrule and you need to interact with them to get that part. These are the percentages if you're curious. And some of them can be flipped over for parts, and you'll get 2, 3, or 4 parts, and these are the percentages for that. And you can only take their ancient parts only once, so technically, there's a limit to how many there are. For treasures, I'm not going to name all the chests with ancient parts, but I will mention the giant ancient core ones just because there's only 9 of them, 2 in the overworld and 7 in shrines. There's one in the Forgotten Temple. If you fast travel to the shrine, just walk past the guardians and drop down, there's a little hole. And in the Lome Labyrinth, right at this location. And without telling you how to do the shrines, the 7 shrines with giant ancient cores are the Ryogzumo Shrine Spiral Thing in Akkala, the Da Hesho Shrine in Akkala by Terrytown, the Miro Shah's Shrine at the Woodland Stable by doing probably the hardest thing in the game, and the Ma'ag Halan Shrine in the Lost Woods, the Kun Sadaj Shrine in the Lost Woods, the Ka Okeo Shrine at the east side of the map at the end of Tanagar Canyon, and the Shoka Tatun Shrine all the way in the south.
Now let's talk about defeating guardians for ancient parts. If you want to collect a lot of ancient parts, it's best of course to defeat some guardians. You can get them from guardian scouts, but they may not be worth farming for them because since they're only in shrines and it takes some time to travel from shrine to shrine. But also, they don't drop that much. The best thing to do is defeat some guardian stalkers. If you have a hard time defeating them, you can probably come back when you're stronger, but some general notes would be destroying legs will kind of stun them and then you can get some extra parts from the legs. Use the light from the eye to know when to parry the lasers. Just know that in Master Mode the timing of the lasers vary. Remember to attack the eye to stun them. Multi-shot bows are great for the eyes. If you have ancient arrows, it'll do even more damage. If you shoot their eye, it defeats them almost immediately. And multi-shot bow with ancient arrows are basically one hit. I'm sure there's more stuff, but leave them in the comments if you have some ideas. And if you don't, and you would like them, go check the comments. And yes, ancient arrows are hard to come by, but if you want to know the best ways to get any type of arrow, check the card in the corner or the link in the description. You can of course defeat some Skywatchers and turrets too, and here's a map of all the guardians to defeat. Again, if you're looking to collect lots of ancient parts, I would defeat a whole bunch of guardians, then wait till the blood moon and then go back. Personally, I wouldn't defeat every single guardian. I normally fast travel to the shrine west of Hyrule Castletown, defeat the guardians close by, then go to Castletown and defeat all the guardians there. I feel like going to the other guardians, like in Hyrule Castle, isn't worth the time traveling. But sometimes I would go down to Hyrule Field and defeat them. You can still defeat the others if you want. Now let's talk about if you're trying to get specific ancient parts. Honestly, you're here for probably giant ancient cores and maybe ancient cores. For giant ancient cores, you can only get them from 3 guardians: Guardian Stalkers, Guardian Skywatchers, and Guardian Turrets. They each have a 0.5% chance for each part that they drop to be a giant ancient core. But keep in mind that Stalkers drop 10 to 12 parts, Skywatchers drop 8 to 12 parts, and Turrets drop 5 to 8 parts. That's why I would mostly farm Guardian Stalkers over the other 2. Real quick about ancient cores, they do have a 2.5% chance to drop, but they have a higher chance to drop from Guardian Scouts 3 and 4. But I still wouldn't use Scouts where Stalkers, Skywatchers, and Turrets drop more. So if you're trying to collect lots of parts, the best thing I would do is save right in front of a Guardian, then defeat them. If you don't get the part that you want dropped, then reload your save and continue doing this over and over again. After doing this 5 times, it took me an average of 13 minutes to get a giant ancient core. Now for farming wood, there's a few things I should mention. If you didn't know, you get them from trees. You can use bombs or any sword weapon to knock down the trees and break the logs. Bombs are probably good to use because they don't use up weapon durability. There's really 2 good places to get some wood, and that's here northwest of Hyrule Castle or east of the Solari Hill Shrine. It's not super easy to get to, but there's a Hinox and then a pile of logs you can break for some wood. The next place would be at the Rito Stable. There's more piles of logs which you can break for wood, and if you need more wood, just save and reload your game and then break more logs. But if you haven't gone this far in the game and you're looking to collect some trees for the Hylian Homeowner side quest, honestly the best thing to do is just cut trees outside of Hatino. Again, you can use bombs to save you some resources. And that is all the locations for all the materials in Zelda Breath of the Wild, except Bokoblin parts. I don't know if you noticed. Either way, if you want a video of all the best tips in Zelda Breath of the Wild, check out this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like the video if you did, and I'll see you next time.